The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, spinning slowly above the green and blue planet called Viridian Prime. Inside the massive station, 7 alien species gathered around a circular table that glowed with soft light. They had been arguing for 3 hours, and Elder Vextar was losing his patience. 13 times. His voice echoed through the chamber as he slammed his clawed hand on the table. 13 consecutive summons, and still the humans send nothing. Not a word, not a signal. Nothing. The other council members shifted in their seats. Some looked worried. Others looked annoyed. The Mindari representative, a thin creature with large eyes, spoke in a quiet voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Perhaps they did not receive our messages," she suggested. Vextar laughed, but there was no humor in it. "We sent the messages through every channel. Radio waves, quantum signals, even physical ships carrying written invitations. All were turned back at their border. No explanations given. The Vortian delegate, an ancient being that looked like living crystal, made a sound like wind chimes. His translator device spoke for him. In my 3,000 years, I have never seen such disrespect. When we granted humanity membership in this council 50 years ago, they promised cooperation. They attended the first 3 sessions, said the representative from the Mercantile Union, counting on his many fingers. Then they stopped. Just like that. For 50 years. Silence. The religious leader of the Luminar Collective, glowing softly with inner light, raised a hand. Perhaps something terrible happened to them. A plague, a war. We should investigate with compassion, not anger. Compassion? Vextar stood up, his tall form casting shadows across the room. I sent 3 diplomatic vessels to check on them. All 3 were stopped at the border of human space. Their ships appeared from nowhere, escorted our diplomats to the edge of their territory and told them to leave. The humans are alive. They are organized. They are choosing to ignore us. The scholar from the archives pulled up a holographic display showing the edge of human space. The image showed a vast region of stars, all blocked by a thick border patrol. "No ships go in," the scholar said in his dry, factual voice. "No ships come out. Trade has stopped. Tourism has stopped. Even their colony worlds on the border have gone silent. It is as if they built a wall around themselves and locked the door." "What are they hiding?" asked the Talon Dominion's military commander, his battle scars visible even in the dim light. "What are they doing in there that requires such secrecy?" Vextar pulled up more images. These showed strange readings detected by long-range sensors. Energy signatures that made no sense. Gravitational waves that should not exist. Mass readings that indicated construction on a scale that seemed impossible. "Our scouts have detected something," Vextar said slowly. "Something big, very big. They are building something in the darkness between their stars." The chamber fell silent. Every delegate stared at the readings. The numbers were staggering. The energy levels alone would require the output of a dozen stars. "A weapon," whispered the Mercantile Union representative. "Or a fleet," said the Talon commander, leaning forward with interest. Those readings could be shipyards. Massive shipyards. The Mindari telepath closed her eyes, trying to sense across the vast distance to human space. After a moment, she opened them again, looking troubled. "I sense nothing. It is like their entire region is wrapped in silence. Not just communication silence. Mental silence. I have never encountered anything like it." Far away on the edge of human territory, Captain Day sat in his command chair aboard a patrol vessel. His screen showed the Council's latest transmission arriving right on schedule. He read it carefully, noting the increased anger in Vextar's words, the threats hidden beneath diplomatic language. When he finished, he pressed a button and sent the message to Earth. "Another one," he said to his second officer. "They are getting impatient. Should we respond this time, sir?" the young officer asked. Day shook his head. "We follow the protocol. Every message gets recorded. Every message gets sent to command. But we say nothing. Not yet." Deep in the solar system, in a military complex hidden beneath the surface of Mars, Admiral Hyun reviewed the same message on his personal display. He had read every single summons the Council sent over the past 50 years. He remembered each one. This latest message was different. This one carried real anger. "They will send their fleet soon," said the officer standing beside him. "Let them," Hyun replied calmly. "By the time they arrive, it won't matter." He stood and walked to the window of his underground office. Above, through the transparent ceiling, he could see the red Martian sky. But he was not looking at Mars. He was thinking about the secret facilities scattered throughout human space. The quantum shipyards, the research stations, the training academies, 50 years of work, all leading to this moment. On Earth, President Tay addressed a room full of military leaders and scientists. The meeting was classified at the highest level. No records were being kept. What was said in this room would never be written down. The Council has issued their final warning, Tay said, her voice steady. They demand we respond within 30 standard cycles. If we do not, they will declare us hostile. Are we ready? Asked one of the generals. Dr. Nari stood up, adjusting her glasses. The chief scientist looked tired but excited. Project Horizon is complete. All 2,000 vessels are operational. The new drive systems exceed our predictions. We can be at Viridian Prime in less than a day. Weapons? Asked another general. Fully armed, said Engineer Minho, pulling up technical displays. Quantum disruptors are online. Singularity missiles are loaded. Exotic matter shields are holding stable. We are ready for anything. Commander Yuna, head of the new expeditionary force, stood at attention. My forces have completed training. Every pilot, every soldier, every crew member knows their role. We have run the simulations 1,000 times. We will not fail. President Tay looked around the room at these remarkable people. 50 years ago, humanity had been weak and afraid. They had joined the Galactic Council hoping for protection and friendship. Instead, they had learned a hard lesson. When humans called for help, no one came. When human ships were attacked by raiders, the Council said there was not enough evidence to act. Humanity had been abandoned, but instead of becoming bitter, humanity had become strong. Instead of complaining, they had built. Instead of begging the Council for protection, they had created their own. Then we wait, Tay said. We let them send their fleet. We let them come to our borders with their threats and their demands, and when they arrive, we will show them what humanity has become. Back in the council chamber, Vexitar called for a vote. All those in favor of sending a military expedition to human space, to demand compliance and investigate their activities. One by one, hands and claws and crystalline limbs rose into the air. The vote was unanimous. Then it is decided, Vexitar announced. We will assemble a fleet. 847 vessels from all 7 species. We will travel to Earth and demand answers. If the humans refuse to cooperate, we will use force. The council members filed out of the chamber, some looking satisfied, others worried. None of them knew the truth. None of them understood what was really happening in human space. They thought humanity was being disrespectful. They thought humans were hiding something dangerous. They were half right. Humanity was hiding something. But it was not what the council feared. It was something far more important, something that would change everything. In the darkness between the stars, in the secret places where human ships had been working for 50 years, the last pieces fell into place. The greatest fleet humanity had ever built waited in silence. And on the bridge of the flagship called Horizon, Admiral Hyun smiled. Let them come, he said to the empty bridge. Let them threaten us. When they arrive, they will find out why we have been so quiet. He pressed a button on his command chair. Throughout human space, on every ship and every station, a single message appeared. 3 words that every human had been waiting 50 years to see. Protocol Omega, stand by. The wait was almost over. Commander Vraxis had been a soldier for 40 years, and he had never been afraid of the dark. But now, floating at the edge of human space in his stealth ship, he felt something close to fear. His sensors were showing readings that should not exist. Commander, you need to see this, his sensor officer said, his voice shaking slightly. Vraxis moved to the display and stared at the numbers. Gravitational waves strong enough to bend light. Energy signatures that looked like small suns burning in the void. Mass readings that suggested structures the size of moons. How many construction sites? Vraxis asked. We have counted 47 so far, sir. And those are just the ones we can detect. There could be more hidden deeper in their territory. Vraxis recorded everything carefully. The council had sent him on this secret mission to find out what humanity was doing. Now he had his answer, but it only created more questions. What were they building? Why did they need so many facilities? And how had they kept this secret for so long? Pull back, Vraxis ordered. We have what we came for. Time to report to the council. As his ship turned away, something appeared on his sensors, just for a moment. A shadow in space, Something massive. Then it was gone, vanished like it had never been there. Did you see that? His sensor officer whispered. I saw it, Vraxis said quietly. Log it, but say nothing to the crew. They are already scared enough. 3 days later, Vraxis stood before the council presenting his findings. The holographic displays showed the data his ship had collected. The council members sat in silence, their faces showing shock and growing fear. These readings, said the Vortian elder slowly, suggest construction on a scale we have never attempted. The energy alone would require technology we do not possess. That is what worries me, Vraxis said. Humanity has been silent for 50 years. In that time, they have apparently surpassed all of us in shipbuilding capability. Elder Vextar stood up, his anger now mixed with concern. This confirms it. They are building a war fleet. They plan to attack us, or defend themselves, said the Mindari telepath quietly. We do not know their intentions. Then we will ask them, Vextar said firmly. And if they do not answer, we will make them answer. The Luminar representative raised a glowing hand. Before we make any decisions, there is someone we should speak to. A human who left Earth before the silence began. She has agreed to testify. The chamber doors opened and a woman walked in. She was old now, her hair completely white, but she moved with purpose. This was Dr. Sora, one of humanity's brightest scientists. She had left Earth 52 years ago to study at the archives, and she had never gone home. Dr. Sora, Vextar said, his voice softer than usual. You know your people better than any of us. Tell us what they are doing. Sora looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each council member. When she spoke, her voice was sad. You think they are preparing to attack you, she said. You think their silence is about aggression? You are wrong. Then what is it about? Asked the Mercantile Union representative. It is about survival, Sora replied. It is about learning the hardest lesson any species can learn. That in this galaxy, you can only rely on yourself. She pulled up her own holographic display showing events from 10 years before the silence began. The council members watched as the images appeared. A human science vessel, an attack by unknown raiders, distress signals sent to the council, and then nothing. This was Captain Junho's ship, Sora explained. A civilian research vessel exploring near council space. They were attacked by raiders. 37 scientists and crew were killed. 20 more were captured. Junho sent emergency signals to every council member. He begged for help. The images showed the response, or rather, the lack of response. Official statements saying the evidence was insufficient. Debates about whether the council had jurisdiction. Delays in bureaucracy while humans died. My cousin was on that ship, Sora said, her voice cracking. She was a botanist, 23 years old. She sent me a final message before the raiders took her. She said help was coming. She believed the council would save them. The chamber was completely silent now, but help did not come, Sora continued. The council debated and discussed and formed committees. By the time you decided to act, it was too late. The raiders were gone. The prisoners were never found. And humanity learned that your promises of protection meant nothing. Vextar sat back down slowly. We did not know. You did not care, Sora said bluntly. Humanity was new, small, not important enough to risk political complications, so you let them die. She changed the image to show President Tay addressing Earth's government in a closed session. The audio was muted, but the subtitles appeared. If we cannot rely on the Council for protection, we will rely on ourselves. If they will not defend us, we will become indefensible. That was the day everything changed, Sora said. That was the day humanity decided to stop asking for help. They would build their own defense. They would become so strong that no one would ever attack them again. And they would do it in silence because talking to the council had proven worthless. The Talon commander leaned forward. So they are building a military fleet. They are building survival, Sora corrected. You abandoned them. Do not be surprised when they stop trusting you. Far away in human space, the work continued. Engineer Minho stood in the control center of the largest shipyard ever built. Through the observation window, he could see vessels taking shape. Ships that looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Sleek, deadly, beautiful. How many are ready? Asked a voice behind him. Minho turned to see Admiral Hyun standing there, his uniform perfectly pressed as always. 2012 vessels are fully operational, Minho reported. The Horizon is ready for its test flight. All systems are performing beyond expectations. And the weapon? Hyun asked quietly. Minho smiled. Dr. Nari says it works. She has run every simulation. When we fire it, the galaxy will see what humanity can do. On another station, Commander Yuna watched her pilots practice maneuvers. Thousands of small fighter craft moved through space in perfect formation. They flew in patterns that seemed impossible, coordinated by neural links that connected every pilot into a single thinking unit. Again, Yuna ordered. Faster this time. When we face real combat, there will be no room for error. The fighters responded instantly, moving like a school of fish, each one anticipating the others. This was the new human military. Not just strong, not just well-armed, but connected in ways that other species could not match. Dr. Nari sat in her laboratory, looking at equations that had taken her 20 years to solve. The exotic matter was stable now. The quantum drives were working. The dimensional energy tap was operational. All the pieces of humanity's greatest achievement were in place. "Are you ready?" President Tay asked, entering the lab. "Ready?" Nari laughed. "We are beyond ready. We have created technology that should not be possible. We have built ships that can cross the galaxy in hours. We have weapons that can tear holes in space itself. Yes, we are ready." "The Council is sending their fleet," Tay said. 847 vessels. They will arrive at Earth in 3 days. "They think we are hiding," Nari said. "They think we are afraid." "Let them think that," Tay replied. "Let them come with their threats and their demands. When they arrive at Earth, they will find it empty. Because we will already be at Viridian Prime." Back in the council chamber, Vraxis finished his report. The decision was made. The fleet would leave immediately. They would travel to Earth and demand answers. The humans would cooperate or they would face consequences. As the council members prepared to depart, Dr. Sora spoke one last time. "You are making a mistake," she said quietly. "You should not threaten them. You should not go to their home with weapons ready. They have spent 50 years preparing for something. Do you really think it was preparing to fight you? Then what?" Vextar demanded. Sora shook her head. "I do not know. I left before the silence began. But I know my people. They do not scare easily. They do not build walls out of fear. If they have been quiet this long, it is because they are waiting for the right moment to speak." Her words were ignored. The council fleet began to assemble. Ships gathered from every corner of council space. The largest military force ever assembled prepared to travel to Earth. On the horizon, Admiral Hyun received the intelligence report. He read it carefully, noting the fleet composition, the travel time, the expected arrival. When he finished, he smiled. "They are coming," he said to Captain Day, who stood beside him on the bridge. "Good. It is time. Should we prepare Earth's defenses?" Day asked. "No need," Hyun replied. "Earth will be empty when they arrive. Activate the beacon. Send the message. It is time to attend a council session." Throughout human space, every ship, every station, every colony received the same message. 3 simple words that changed everything. The wait is over. The message arrived at Viridian Prime exactly 27 hours before humanity said they would appear. It was short, simple, and it sent the council into chaos. "Your invitation is accepted. Humanity will attend the council session. We will arrive in 27 standard hours." The voice belonged to Captain Day. His tone was calm and professional, as if he were discussing the weather rather than ending 50 years of silence. Elder Vextar stood in the emergency council meeting, his claws gripping the table edge hard enough to leave marks. "This is impossible. Our fleet is still 3 days away from Earth. How can they reach Viridian Prime in 27 hours? The journey takes weeks, even with the fastest ships. Maybe they have been hiding closer than we thought," suggested the Mercantile Union representative. "Or maybe," said the Mindari telepath slowly, "they have developed technology we do not understand." The council chamber became a storm of activity. Defense stations powered up. Military escorts moved into position around Viridian Prime. Every sensor in the system was pointed at the edge of space, watching for humanity's arrival. Thousands of armed guards filled the station. Weapons were charged and ready. "If they want to threaten us, they will find us prepared," Vextar declared. Dr. Sora stood in the observation deck, watching the preparations with sad eyes. "You still do not understand," she whispered to herself. "They are not coming to threaten. They are coming to show you what you created." The hours passed slowly. Every council member was tense. Every soldier was ready. The entire station held its breath, waiting to see what would emerge from the darkness. Then, with 3 minutes remaining on the countdown, the sensors went wild. Spatial anomalies detected at the system edge. The sensor officer shouted. Multiple quantum signatures appearing. Energy readings are off the scale. On every screen in the council chamber, the same image appeared. Space itself was tearing open, not like a wormhole, not like any known travel method. Reality was folding and something was coming through. The first ship emerged and the council members gasped. It was enormous. Sleek lines that seemed to flow like water, hull plating that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, weapons that looked like they belonged in dreams, not reality. Then came the second ship. Then the third, then dozens, then hundreds. Count, Vextar demanded, counting. Sir, we are reading 1,000 vessels. 1,500. 1,800. The sensor officer's voice rose in disbelief. 2,012 vessels, sir. All of unknown design. All showing power signatures beyond anything in our database. The fleet moved with impossible precision. Each ship knew exactly where to be. They formed a perfect sphere around one massive vessel at the center. This flagship dwarfed everything else. It was 3 times larger than the Council's biggest battle station. Along its hull, lights pulsed with energy that made the sensor equipment scream warnings. That is the horizon, Dr. Sora said quietly, staring at the displays. They actually built it. They actually made it work. The human fleet came to a stop exactly where diplomatic protocol required. Not threatening, not aggressive, just present, undeniable, overwhelming. Commander Vraxis, who had been called back from leading the Earth expedition, stood frozen. I saw shadows at their border, glimpses of construction. But this is beyond anything I imagined. How did they do this? How did they build this fleet without anyone knowing? The Talon Dominion military advisor was running calculations. That many vessels, with power signatures like that. If they wanted to attack, we could not stop them. Every defense we have would be meaningless. They are not attacking, the Mindari telepath said. Her eyes closed in concentration. I can feel their intentions now that they are closer. They are not here to fight. They are here to demonstrate. A new message arrived. Again, Captain Day's voice, requesting permission to dock diplomatic shuttle. Admiral Hyun and President Tay will address the council in person. Vextar wanted to refuse, wanted to demand they leave, but looking at that fleet hanging in space like a promise and a warning, he knew he had no choice. Permission granted, he said through clenched teeth. The shuttle that docked was small and unimpressive compared to the fleet, but when the airlock opened and the human delegation walked through, the entire council chamber fell silent. Admiral Hyun led the way. He was not a large man, but he walked with the confidence of someone who commanded power beyond measure. His uniform was simple, dark blue with silver trim. No medals, no decorations, just the insignia of Earth's defense forces. Behind him came President Tay, her formal suit perfect and professional. Then Dr. Nari, carrying a data pad and looking around with scientific curiosity. Captain Day followed, his pilot's uniform showing wear from actual use. And finally, Commander Yuna, her military bearing so sharp it could cut steel. They walked down the long corridor to the council chamber, past thousands of armed guards who watched them with weapons ready but not raised. The humans did not seem concerned. They did not hurry. They did not look nervous. They simply walked, 5 people who represented a species that had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. When they entered the chamber, every council member was standing. The humans stopped at the designated position for visiting delegations. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The weight of 50 years of silence hung in the air like smoke. Finally, Elder Vextar broke the silence. His voice shook with barely controlled anger. You have ignored 147 summons. You have violated council protocols. You have built a military fleet in secret. Explain yourselves or be declared enemies of the Galactic Order. Admiral Hyun met his gaze without flinching. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. We ignored nothing. We read every word of every summons. We considered each one carefully. We simply had nothing to say until now. Nothing to say. Vextar's voice rose. For 50 years? That is not silence. That is contempt. No. President Tay stepped forward. That is focus. That is determination. That is what happens when a species learns it cannot rely on promises. The council erupted with angry voices. The humans stood quietly, waiting for the noise to die down. When it finally did, the Vortian elder spoke in his ancient, calm voice. "What were you building out there? What is that fleet?" Dr. Nari activated her datapad. Holographic displays filled the chamber, showing 50 years of human development in compressed time. The council members watched in growing amazement as the images showed quantum shipyards being constructed, new physics being discovered, an entire species working together with single-minded purpose. "You gave us membership in your council," Dr. Nari explained, her voice steady. "You gave us laws to follow and promises of mutual protection. But when we needed help, when our people were dying, you did nothing. You debated, you discussed, you formed committees while humans died." The image changed to show Captain Junho's destroyed ship, the bodies floating in space, the distress signals that went unanswered. "So we learned your most important lesson," Dr. Nari continued. "In this galaxy, you can only rely on yourself. If you want to be safe, you must make yourself too strong to attack. If you want to survive, you must build your own salvation." Admiral Hyun took over, his voice harder now. "While you held council sessions, we held our breath and worked. While you debated politics, we built this fleet. Not to conquer, not to threaten, but to make sure we would never again need to beg for protection that would not come. You should have shared this technology with the council," the Talon commander said. "It could benefit everyone." "Share?" President Tay's laugh was bitter. "Share with the council that abandoned us? Why would we do that? You had your chance to be our allies. You chose bureaucracy instead." The Mindari telepath spoke softly. "You are angry. After all this time, you are still angry with us." "No," Commander Yuna said, speaking for the first time. Her voice was like ice. "We are not angry. Anger fades. We are disappointed. We learned that your word means nothing, so we stopped listening to your words and started trusting our actions." The chamber was silent again. The council members looked at each other, shame and fear mixing on their faces. They had thought humanity was being disrespectful. They had not realized they had driven humanity away with their own failures. "The fleet outside," Admiral Hyun said, gesturing to the displays showing the 2,000 ships. "That is what happens when you abandon a species. That is what happens when you make humanity rely on itself. We became exactly what we needed to be. Strong, independent, unstoppable." "Are you here to declare war then?" Vextar asked quietly, all his anger gone now. "War?" President Tay shook her head. "We are not here to declare war. We are here to declare independence. We do not need your counsel. We do not need your protection. We do not need your approval. We are here to show you that humanity stands alone now, and we stand strong." Admiral Hyun stepped forward, looking each council member in the eye. "You asked why we have been silent for 50 years. This is why. We were becoming something you could never ignore again. We were building proof that humanity does not beg. We build, we adapt, we overcome. And now you know what that means." The displays changed one final time, showing the technological gap that now existed. Human ships that could cross the galaxy in hours, weapons that could tear reality apart, shields that bent the laws of physics. In 50 years of focused work, humanity had not just caught up to the council species. They had surpassed them. "So what now?" asked the Luminar representative, her glow dimming with worry. Admiral Hyun was about to answer when every alarm in the station began to scream. The alarms were deafening. Red lights flashed throughout the council chamber as every screen switched to emergency displays. The sensor officer's voice cut through the chaos, high with panic. Spatial tear detected at the system edge. Massive energy readings. Unknown vessels emerging. Admiral Hyun's face went pale. He spun toward the displays and his hand moved to his communication device. "All human vessels, battle stations. This is not a drill. Pattern Omega. Repeat pattern Omega." The council members stared at him in confusion, but Dr. Sora understood immediately. She grabbed the edge of the table, her knees nearly giving out. "No, not yet. We are not ready. You said we had more time. What is happening?" Vextar demanded. "What are those ships?" On the displays, something was tearing through the fabric of space itself. Not like the controlled quantum jumps the human fleet had used. This was violent, raw, like a wound being ripped open in reality. Through the tear came ships that looked wrong. They were organic and mechanical at the same time, covered in what looked like dark scales that moved and breathed. "Devourers," Dr. Nari said quietly, her scientific calm breaking for the first time. They are called devourers. The first wave came through. Dozens of ships, then hundreds, then thousands. They poured into the Viridian system like insects from a disturbed nest. Their movement was chaotic but purposeful, spreading out to surround the planet. Explain, Vextar shouted at the humans. What are these things? How do you know about them? President Tay's voice was steady despite the fear in her eyes. 50 years ago, our deep space probes detected them at the edge of the galaxy. We tried to warn you. You said we were being alarmist. You said we were seeking attention. You dismissed our evidence as insufficient. Admiral Hyun pulled up old transmission records, messages sent from Earth to the Council, warning of an extragalactic threat, reports of entire civilizations disappearing, detailed sensor data showing an invasion force approaching, and next to each warning the Council's response: denied, dismissed, ignored. You knew? The Mindari telepath's voice was barely a whisper. All this time you knew they were coming? We knew, Commander Yuna said, her hand already on her weapon. We warned you. You did nothing, so we prepared alone. The Talon commander was studying the tactical displays, his military experience taking over. How many? Current count is 14,000 vessels and rising, the sensor officer reported. They are surrounding the planet. Our defense fleet here numbers only 200 ships. The main Council fleet is still 3 days away at Earth. Vextar's face showed the horrible realization. Viridian Prime was a diplomatic world. It had minimal military presence by design. It was meant to be neutral, safe, protected by its symbolic importance. Now it was trapped. How long until our defenses fall? Asked the Vortian elder. The Talon commander ran the calculations quickly. With current forces? 47 minutes. Maybe less. The council chamber erupted in panic. Representatives shouted orders, demanded evacuations, called for their home fleets. But everyone knew the truth. Help was too far away. The Devourers would consume everything long before rescue arrived. Admiral Hyun stood quietly in the center of the chaos. President Tay moved beside him. Captain Day, Dr. Nari, and Commander Yuna formed a line behind them. 5 humans, calm while the galaxy panicked around them. Why did you come here? Vextar asked, his anger gone now, replaced by desperate confusion. You knew they were coming. You could have stayed in human space, protected behind your borders. Why come to Viridian Prime now? President Tay met his eyes. Because this was always going to happen. Because we could not let you face it alone. Because despite everything you did to us, despite the abandonment and the dismissal and the failure to act when we needed help, we are not you. We do not abandon people when they need us most. You came to save us. The Luminar representative's glow brightened with hope. Even after we failed you? We came because it is the right thing to do, Admiral Hyun said simply. You abandoned us when we were weak, but we will not abandon you, even though you do not deserve our help. That is the difference between us. He activated his fleet-wide communication. His voice carried to every human vessel hanging in space, to every crew member who had trained for this moment. All vessels, you know the mission. 50 years we have prepared for this day. 50 years we have built these ships and trained these crews. We did not come here to gloat. We did not come here to show off. We came here because when that tear in space opened, we knew the Devourers would come to the most visible target in Council space first. We are here because someone needs to stand between innocent people and extinction. Today we show the galaxy what humanity truly means. Protect the Council. Protect Viridian Prime. Show them what we are made of. The human fleet moved as one. 2,000 ships that had been hanging peacefully suddenly transformed into a wall of coordinated power. They positioned themselves between the planet and the approaching swarm, creating a defensive sphere that put human vessels in the direct path of the Devourers. They are protecting us, the Mindari telepath said in wonder. After everything, they are using their fleet to shield us. The Devourers attacked without warning, without communication, without mercy. They simply came, weapons firing strange energy that seemed to eat through normal shields like acid through paper. The 200 Council defense ships opened fire, their weapons barely slowing the assault. Then the human fleet engaged, and the Council members saw what 50 years of preparation meant. Human weapons did not fire normal energy beams. They released pulses of quantum-altered particles that destabilized matter on a molecular level. Singularity missiles created tiny black holes that pulled Devourer ships into dimensional pockets. Exotic matter shields did not just block weapons, they bent space around the ships, making them impossible to target accurately. Captain Day led a wing of 500 fighters into the swarm. The small human craft moved with impossible coordination. Each pilot connected through neural links that let them think as a single organism. They wove between devourer vessels like silver threads, their weapons cutting through the enemy formation with surgical precision. "They fight like they have done this before," Commander Vraxis said, watching in amazement. "They have," Dr. Sora explained. "Every simulation, every training exercise. For 50 years they practiced fighting the devourers. They studied the enemy. They learned their tactics. They became experts in fighting an enemy the rest of us refused to believe existed." Engineer Minho's voice came through the communication channels, coordinating power distribution across the human fleet. Ships that took damage immediately redirected energy from weapons to shields. Ships with full reserves shared power with those running low. The fleet operated with efficiency that seemed impossible without direct control from a central command. But even with human technology, the numbers were overwhelming. For every devourer ship destroyed, 2 more came through the spatial tear. The human fleet was taking casualties. Ships exploded in bright flashes. Escape pods launched into space. The battle was turning against them. Dr. Nari was working frantically at a portable console, analyzing devourer ship patterns and weapon frequencies. "I am sending countermeasure data to all Allied vessels," she announced. "Recalibrate your shields to these frequencies. It will help." The Council ships began implementing her modifications and their survival rates immediately improved. Even the Talon commander looked impressed. "Your scientists just gave us a fighting chance." Admiral Hune stood on the bridge of the horizon, watching the battle unfold on his displays. He could see the tactical situation clearly. The human fleet was holding the line, but barely. More devourers kept coming. At this rate, even human technology would not be enough. He made the decision he had been trained to make. The decision they had all known might be necessary. "All ships, this is Admiral Hune. Activate Protocol Omega. All power to the Horizon's main weapon. We are using the Singularity Cannon." Engineer Minho's voice responded immediately. "Admiral, if we channel that much power, the Horizon will be defenseless. All shields will drop. All weapons will go offline. We will be dead in space." "I know," Hyun said calmly. "That is what the rest of the fleet is for. They will protect us while we charge the weapon." "How long until we can fire?" 8 minutes to full charge, Minho reported. "Sir, if we are hit during that time, the exotic matter core could destabilize. The explosion would destroy everything in the system." "Then let us make sure we are not hit," Hyun replied. He switched to fleet-wide communication. "All vessels, the Horizon is charging the main weapon. Form defensive sphere around the flagship. Nothing gets through." "That is an order." The human fleet instantly reformed, creating a protective shell around the massive Horizon. Every ship moved to block any possible attack vector. They knew what they were protecting. They knew what that weapon could do. President Tay stood beside Admiral Hyun, watching the countdown. "If this works, they will see what humanity built. What we created while they ignored us." "If this works," Hyun corrected quietly, "they will see why we needed 50 years of silence, why we could not waste time talking when we needed every second to build this." The Horizon began to glow. Energy from a pocket dimension poured into the ship's core, building to levels that made the sensors scream warnings. The council members in the chamber could see it through the windows, a ship becoming a star. "What is that?" Vexstar whispered. "That," Dr. Sora said, tears streaming down her face, "is humanity saving you." The Horizon glowed brighter with each passing second. Energy from another dimension poured into the massive ship, building toward a release that would shake the foundations of space itself. On the bridge, Engineer Minho watched the power levels climb past safety limits, past theoretical maximums into ranges that should not exist. 6 minutes to firing, he announced, his voice steady despite the danger. "All systems holding. Core temperature approaching critical." Around the flagship, the human fleet fought with desperate intensity. Every ship positioned itself to block incoming fire. Shields flared constantly as devourer weapons hammered against the defensive sphere. Ships that took critical damage did not retreat. They pushed forward, using their own hulls as shields for the Horizon. Inside the council chamber, the members watched in silent awe. They could see human vessels exploding, see escape pods launching into space, see crew members sacrificing themselves to buy time for the weapon to charge. "They are dying for us," the Luminar representative whispered, her glow dim with grief. They came here knowing this would happen, and they are dying to save us. Admiral Hyun stood on the bridge watching the tactical display. Red icons appeared where human ships fell. Each one represented hundreds of lives. Crew members he had trained, pilots he had spoken with, engineers who had built this fleet with their own hands. But he did not look away. He owed them that much. He would witness every sacrifice. 4 minutes, Minho called out. The Devourer swarm changed tactics. Their sensors had identified the horizon as the threat. Now they concentrated their entire force on breaking through the defensive sphere. Thousands of ships pushed forward, their weapons tearing holes in the human formation. Captain Day's fighter wing swooped in to fill the gaps, their small craft absorbing attacks meant for the larger vessels. Stay tight, Day ordered his pilots. Every second counts. Make them fight for every meter. But even with human technology and coordination, the numbers were impossible. The Devourers kept coming, an endless tide of destruction. A massive enemy command ship pushed through the defensive line, its weapons charging to fire directly at the horizon. Commander Yuna saw it happen. She was on one of the assault carriers, preparing her ground troops for boarding actions if needed. But now she saw what needed to be done. She opened a channel to Admiral Hyun. Admiral, the mothership is breaking through. If it fires on the horizon during the charge, the exotic matter core will destabilize. The explosion will destroy the entire system. I see it, Hyun replied grimly. All available ships intercept that mothership. There is no time, Yuna said calmly. But there is another way. My assault team can board it. If we can reach their command center and destroy their central intelligence, the swarm will lose coordination. Hyun understood immediately what she was suggesting. Yuna, that is a one-way mission. You cannot get out before the ship explodes. I know, Yuna replied. But we trained for this, Admiral. We knew there might be sacrifices. My team and I volunteer. Let us save the horizon. Let us save everyone. President Tay was listening from the council chamber. She closed her eyes, pain crossing her face. But she did not interfere. This was a military decision, and Yuna was a soldier who knew what she had chosen. Permission granted, Hyun said quietly. All honor, Commander. Humanity will remember you. Yuna's assault carrier launched immediately, accelerating toward the Devourer mothership with impossible speed. Behind her came volunteers from every species. A Talon warrior who wanted to prove his courage, a Mindari who could sense the enemy's weak points, a Vortian who carried ancient weapons, even some council soldiers who could not stand by while others sacrificed everything. 2 minutes to firing, Minho announced. The horizon was shaking now, barely containing the energy building in its core. Yuna's team crashed through the mothership's hull using cutting charges. They fought their way inside, moving through corridors that looked like the inside of a living creature. The Devourers defended fiercely, but Yuna's training and determination pushed forward. Every meter was bought with blood and courage. We have reached the central chamber, Yuna reported, breathing hard. I can see their intelligence core. It is massive, organic, alive. Plant the charges, Hyun ordered. All of them. Already done, sir, Yuna replied. 30 seconds until detonation. Not enough time to get back to the carrier. In the council chamber, Dr. Sora was crying openly. The other council members stood frozen, watching this woman they had never met prepare to die to save them. 1 minute to firing, Minho called. Admiral Hyun made a decision that went against every tactical rule. All ships with functional quantum drives lock on to Commander Yuna's signal. We are bringing them home. Sir, the drives are not designed for precision extraction from inside enemy vessels, the navigation officer protested. Then we will make them work, Hyun said firmly. Lock on now. That is an order. The charges inside the mothership detonated. The explosion tore through the massive vessel, destroying the central intelligence and sending cascading failures throughout the Devourer swarm. At the same moment, human ships with quantum drives activated their systems, creating a dimensional pocket that pulled Yuna and her team out of the exploding ship. They materialized on the horizon's hangar deck seconds before the mothership exploded in a blast that lit up the entire system. Yuna collapsed to her knees, gasping for air, amazed to be alive. Firing, Minho shouted. The horizon released 50 years of preparation in a single devastating pulse. The weapon tore through space itself, creating a wave of destabilizing energy that spread through the Devourer swarm like fire through paper. Ships exploded by the thousands. The spatial tear they had come through collapsed. In 30 seconds, the entire invasion force was reduced to debris and radiation. The sudden silence was deafening. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They simply stared at the empty space where an unstoppable swarm had been. Then the Horizon systems began to restart. Power flowed back into shields and weapons. The glow faded. Engineer Minho's exhausted voice came through. Weapon fired successfully. Core temperature dropping to safe levels. All systems recovering. We did it, sir. We actually did it. The council chamber erupted in chaos, but this time it was celebration mixed with shock. They had survived. Viridian Prime was safe. The Devourers were destroyed, but the cost was visible. The human fleet had lost 340 vessels. 78,000 human crew members had died protecting people who had abandoned them. The Council's own forces had lost 89 ships and 34,000 personnel. 3 days later, the Council's war fleet arrived from Earth to find not war, but peace. They found wreckage and memorial services. They found humans and Council species working together to repair damage and recover bodies. Admiral Hyun stood before the assembled Council one final time. His uniform showed marks from the battle. His face showed the weight of command and loss. But his voice was strong. "We did not come to Viridian Prime to show off," he said. "We came because we knew the Devourers would target you first. We came because 50 years ago we detected this threat and tried to warn you. You dismissed us, so we spent those 50 years preparing to save you anyway, not because you deserved it, but because it was right." President Tae stepped forward. "You abandoned us when we needed help. You ignored our warnings. You failed us in every way that mattered. But we are not you. We do not abandon people, even when they abandon us. We do not ignore threats even when others call us alarmist. We build solutions. We prepare. We protect. That is what humanity means." Elder Vextar stood slowly. His voice was humble, his earlier arrogance completely gone. "We judged you without understanding. We see now that your silence was not disrespect. It was the sound of a species building a shield for all of us. You saved us. After everything we did, you still saved us." The Council offered humanity a permanent seat on the Security Council, with veto power and military authority. They offered access to all Council resources and technology. They offered formal alliances and binding treaties. Admiral Hyun considered the offers carefully. Finally, he spoke. "We will consider your offer, but understand this clearly. We do not need your council to validate us. We do not need your approval to exist. We needed 50 years to become who we were always meant to be. Strong, independent, capable. We will cooperate with you, but we will never again depend on you." In the weeks that followed, humanity began sharing quantum technology with Council scientists. Dr. Nari led research teams teaching others what humans had learned. Captain Day trained the first joint human-alien fighter wing. Engineer Minho oversaw construction of defensive stations around every Council world. Commander Yuna, recovered from her ordeal, became humanity's first ambassador general. She traveled to every Council world, building relationships based on respect earned through action, not empty promises. 6 months after the battle, Admiral Hyun stood on the repaired bridge of the Horizon. President Tae joined him, looking out at the stars. "Did we do the right thing?" Tae asked quietly. "Saving them after they abandoned us?" Hyun smiled slightly. "We did the human thing. We do not abandon people even when they abandon us. That is not weakness. That is our greatest strength. That is what makes us different." "The Council will remember this day," Tae said. "The stars will remember," Hyun replied. "And when the next threat comes, they will know exactly who to call." Far away in deep space, Dr. Sora worked aboard a human exploration vessel. She had requested assignment to the Outer Rim, wanting to be part of humanity's continued expansion. Her sensors detected new anomalies, strange readings that suggested more dangers lurking in the darkness. "Admiral," she transmitted back to Earth, "we have detected more spatial anomalies. There might be more Devourers out there, possibly other threats we have not yet identified." Admiral Hyun's response was immediate and confident. "Then we will be ready. We are always ready. That is what humans do. We prepare, we build, we protect. Not just ourselves. Everyone who needs protection. That is the promise we make to the galaxy now." The camera would pull back to show humanity's fleet, larger now than before, stationed across known space. Human vessels patrolled borders. Human scientists worked in research stations. Human soldiers trained with alien allies. In 50 years of silence, humanity had transformed from a weak species begging for help into the galaxy's protectors. The final image would be Earth itself, peaceful and blue, with orbital shipyards building the next generation of defenders. And above it all, a simple message displayed across every human vessel. 3 words that defined what humanity had become. Never again alone.